Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Ring Generals. I'm your host, Shotgun Tony Gunn. You're looking at the best there is. Got an awesome show lined up and got an awesome guest, the Reverend Ronnie Roberts. Can I get a yay man?
Yay man, yay man.
That's so much fun to say.
Man, tell me about it.
Welcome here.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Speaking of yay man, I just want to just start with this. How did that come about?
Well, in my early 20s.
That was a couple years ago.
2 or 3 years ago, I was studying on my way to becoming a preacher, and just my trials and tribulations going through all the backstage stuff. People talk about wrestling politics. Man, there's also politics when it comes to the backstage stuff or behind the church scene, and that's where I'd say the Reverend itself kind of came from. I am an actual Reverend, but some of the people that I were following were not necessarily on the up and up, so to speak, at the time. And just watching them and watching some of the stuff they do and some of the greed, for lack of a better word, that came out. And so I kind of stole some of those mannerisms and things. And Yay Man came just growing up and going to different, melanated churches. The Reverend will, use the English language liberally, if you will. And sometimes you get a yay man instead of an amen. Yeah. So
bring out that emotion.
Exactly. And it's different. I mean, have you ever heard anybody say yay man? I've heard it several times, but it's not something that's known, right? Everyone. So I thought I'd, when I get into it, get that yay man, and it's just, it makes it mine, and it gives it a little more oomph.
Well, I love to hear it, and you made that your own, so I love it every time you say it when you're out there on the show.
Well, Lord knows I say it all the time. That's for sure.
Yay, man. So let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about your past. So, what was your childhood like? Like, what area did you grow up in? And did you have an athletic background at all, or anything of that nature?
Well, I grew up in the projects of Lexington, Kentucky. Nowadays, there's not much of a going on, but back then, go to sleep listening to gunshots and ambulances and putting police sirens and all that. Always considered a bad neighborhood from the outside in, but when you're in the middle of it, you don't know any better. I just went and did my thing. I'm out there, what they say, doing hood rat things with my hood rat friends, so to speak. And yes, always playing basketball, football, baseball, any sport, you name it, we played it, and then eventually, I guess people got brave enough to come bring actual little league sports to the hood, and so I played a little football, played baseball, played basketball, attempted soccer as a young man a little bit.
Now, was this middle school, high school?
This was elementary school.
Elementary school.
Now, once I got to middle school, I played football, and that was pretty much it. I didn't really play anything else. Football was a big thing to me, and as I went along, I played football in high school. I went to a private school actually in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Played football down there, but I also wrestled. And in the springtime, just to avoid doing spring football, one year I played baseball, 1 year I played lacrosse, and 2 years I did through the shot put and discus and track and field. So I played everything, and I was usually pretty good at everything. Intramural volleyball, I was there. Bowling, gotcha. Did it all. And
so you just got your hands on a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I was definitely an athlete, and I'm probably about 215 now, but back then I was an offensive lineman. I was 250 my senior year. Wow. Pretty big dude. Had some interest to play some college football at some small colleges, but I was a little arrogant and thought I should be playing for bigger schools. So I said, forget about football. And I just once I graduated high school, I went to the UK, came home, and went to Kentucky for a little while. Okay. And once you graduate high school, you get in that college life, and things happen, and started having children, and
life started happening.
Yeah, life started happening, exactly. But with that said, I eventually started coaching high school football. Okay. I started coaching at West Jessamine. That's Nicholasville over there, and then got married, started having kids, and I moved to Canada with my family. My wife was Canadian. So I moved up there and was coaching there, and my kids actually talked me into trying out for a semi-pro team up there. And And they's like, Coach, you still got it. 'Cause I'm running around doing stuff with them, still a young man, still fairly in early 20s. And they convinced me to go out for the team. I made the team. After the second game, the middle linebacker went down. I slid in, and I played outside linebacker for the rest of the season and the year after, and was starting, and nobody could come take my spot.
So how long were you in Canada?
I was in Canada overall for about 5 years.
Gotcha.
Yeah, a little
so
more.
You spent some time up there. So just for people that don't know, like, what's the culture like there versus here? Is it the same? Is it similar? Is there a lot of difference?
People make jokes and they call it America Junior, stuff like that. Kind of, and there's a reason for that. It's very similar, except I like to say that Canada's nice. The people are nicer. The people are healthier. There's not as much litter and pollution. It's almost they say America light, but I'm like, yeah, but it's all in the good ways. The healthcare system is different. I won't say it's better, but certainly different. Everyone has the free healthcare thing, but it has if you could somehow combine the two systems, it'd be perfect, because you have free healthcare there, but at the same time, say you come into the ER and, oh man, you just sprained your ankle, and you're next in line, and somebody else comes in who broke their arm, well, you're still waiting. And somebody else comes in, you're still waiting, and maybe you need some kind of surgery, but you're going to be on this waiting list, brother. You're going to have to wait a year and a half to get this surgery, kind of thing. Whereas privatized, like in America, you got enough money, you can get whatever you need right away. The main thing I will say is, being a melanated man, that was the biggest difference for me. I walking around in the first town I moved in, it was a little town called Whitecourt, Alberta. It's about 2 hours north of Edmonton, if you know anything about Canada. And it was the first time in my life that the color of my skin actually, I felt like, worked out in my benefit. It didn't, people were looking like, oh man, look, hey, you see that guy or whatever, Most of the time, instead of people looking at me like, oh, you see that guy, it worked out a little differently. And back then, it's a little different now in America. Back then, sometimes it's palpable. The people, you can feel the racial tension. Now, here in the last few years, there's definitely been a lot of that going on again. But it was on an improvement, because when I moved back, it was almost a different ball game. But up there in Canada, I didn't feel that. And that's why I enjoyed it so much, and I consider it, second home kind of deal. It was being melanated did not have any bearing on how people looked at me.
Gotcha. So from Lexington, you went to Canada, and then you came back to this area. So when did you get into wrestling?
When I moved back.
Okay.
Oh man, I think I've been wrestling for about 12 years now.
Okay.
And so probably about 13 years ago, I moved back, and it was just one of those things. I had wanted to do it straight out of high school, but I don't know exactly how old you are, Tony, but I think I might have a few years on you. The internet just started.
I think we're close to the same age. Without saying our age, we're close to the same age.
But the internet just started popping off when I was a senior in high school.
Well, now you're aging yourself.
I'm fine with it, because listen, y'all can come test me. You still can't go like I can go. So there was no Google. I couldn't Google a place to go train or anything like that. I didn't know the process of getting into the business. So then life happened. So then, come back, and all of a sudden now you can. It's a lot easier to find that training. And that's not even how I found it. I was working at Toyota in Georgetown, and my line supervisor or whatever, my buddy and I would just talk wrestling nonstop, ad nauseum, literally, because people would, hey man, would y'all talk about something else? I'm like, no man, we love this. And my line leader came by, I was like, I think I know somebody. You guys want to get in the business? I can probably help you out. And we're thinking, yeah, sure, whatever. And turned out he knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody. And he, got the connections, and I started training in Cynthiana, Kentucky with a promoter and wrestler named Johnny Bad, who his head trainer at the time happened to be legendary Larry D. Okay. So Larry D taught me my basics and everything, and then you know how it is in wrestling. You learn your basics, and then you fly and grow from there.
Right. So, sink or swim.
There you go.
Yeah, and I think you've swam a little bit.
So. Little bit. Yeah. I've done some sinking. Don't get me wrong. Had to have some lifelines and life rafts thrown, but you learn lessons.
Right. So we've all done that. So thinking about your training, like, what was one of the memorable moments from your training? Like, what was one of the hardest things that you went through? Can you even recall that?
Well, yes, I do remember. Not to toot my own horn, but I kind of took to it like a duck to water. So there wasn't a lot of hard things for me. The hardest thing was checking my ego because I just came from Canada playing a little football and everything. I'm a grown man. A lot of guys get in the business super young. I'm a grown man, and you remember years ago, the business has changed a little bit, but people would talk to you and treat you a certain way. And that was probably the hardest part for me. That being able to check my ego and not, like, man, who you talking to, man? I don't know who you think, just being able just to be cool and understand, let's just get through this. Let me learn, no matter what's going on. I'm here to learn, and eventually I will get good enough to where I don't have to take any crap from anybody.
Right.
That was the hardest part. Nothing physical, because I'd played all the sports in the world. I was already a father and a husband at that time, so mentally nothing prepares you like being married with kids. So nothing, but it was just that checking that ego and not bucking to some of the stuff that people said and people did when you're a young wrestler.
Right. So you speak of the married life. So like, I know that's because I'm married as well. I don't have any kids yet, but so what are some of the pros and cons about that? Like as far as the support or not being there for your family at times? 'Cause I know being on the road is hard.
Yeah. That's the biggest con right there.
Yeah.
If you really want to be successful in the wrestling business, there are certain things you're going to miss in order to help further your career.
Right.
Every now and then you'll miss a recital and a birthday and things of that nature, especially with your kids. Your partner can understand a lot better than the kids do. It helps if you bring them something back. Put that out there. But that, number one, is the hardest part. Missing life events is number one, the hardest part about it.
Right.
But when you're serious about it and you understand my goal is to make my kid trust fund babies. That's my whole goal. So I understand I'm doing this. I love this, but I'm also doing this for them. And one, to set the example that, hey, you don't need necessarily a 9 to 5. You don't need to go try to make somebody else rich. You have an idea. You go pursue your passion and go make that happen. Right. And two, I'm trying to set them up for success. That when they get old enough and they turn 18, they can have the option. Hey, you want to go to college? I got you. Oh, you want to go start your own business? I got you. With either option, I'm good with either one.
Right. So you're not doing this in a sense for your own personal gain or a selfish manner. You're doing this, I mean, for yourself, but for your family mostly as well too.
Absolutely.
Right?
I love what I do. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I wouldn't work near as hard if I didn't have that end goal.
Right.
If I didn't know I had kids coming up who I have to house and feed and clothe right now, but also who I want to set up for success for the future, then I wouldn't work near as hard as I do.
Right.
And I don't think it's hard. People don't see how hard that I work. I have my fingers in all kinds of little things, and maybe we'll get into here soon. But I work so hard for them. If it was up to me, I'd just be having fun. Maybe I'd just I'd take a bunch of days off and just work 3 days a week or something like that.
Now you did say that you have your fingers in a lot of different things, which is good. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket.
Absolutely.
And you've been in OVW for how long now? How long you been
probably maybe a year and a half, something like that.
Yeah, so you're relatively new in the OVW scene. But not only that, you also do training as well with Grindhouse, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about that, the school and the process, and kind of give a plug to Grindhouse?
Absolutely. Yes, Grindhouse Pro Wrestling. My partner, Too Tough Tony, and I. Too Tough Tony's been around the world wrestling himself. Basically, I knew he had a trainer that was there who I knew was stepping down, so I badgered him until he brought me in here. Tony, come on, I got to do this. I've been training, I've been working. Finally, he brought me in, and my whole mission at Grindhouse is, one, whatever your dream is, I'm going to help you make your dream come true. If you just want to wrestle every weekend, I got you. If you want to make it to the WWE, I'm not the one to help get you there, but I can certainly help you build a solid foundation and put you along the path to get where you need to be, kind of thing. So my main thing and my other thing is, there's a lot of bad wrestling. There's a lot of bad wrestling.
You gotta tell me that.
I know, you know.
All about
there's a lot of bad wrestling out there. And so my whole thing is, here's one thing my trainings, I run a show. We have a show this Sunday, matter of fact, February 27th, 3 o'clock at the arena, 1416 Spring Street. I don't want people to see some rinky-dink garage show. They see a flyer, they see wrestling, and they equate it to anything that I'm doing. So my whole mission is to try to make wrestling in the whole area better, to try to build a solid foundation, to do the right things the right way at the right times. So therefore, wrestling benefits from it.
Right.
I know wrestling has done so much for me, it's done so much for you. I'm trying to leave it better than the way I found it.
Right.
And so that's our whole mission at Grindhouse. I want to make your dream come true. It's my passion to help, because I told you I coached football. I am a coach. It's one thing I love to do, and I love to see young men and women blossom into what they want to be.
Yeah.
That really, it gets me going, you know what I mean?
Right,
And
helping others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I didn't even used to charge for it, but it got to the point like, well, I'm spending so much time doing it, I should probably try to make a living doing it.
Make a dollar doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you talk about other people, watching them blossom. So let's talk about yourself for a second.
Okay.
Like, I know when you first started wrestling, you probably weren't the Reverend Ronnie Roberts.
I was not.
So like, how did that character come to be? Like, how did that develop?
Well, I was ravishing Ronnie Roberts, Triple R superstar still.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Remember that.
And I was a good hand. I was out there banging, trying to go out there and kill it every night, kind of thing. Had a decent personality, but my focus was going out there and being the best wrestler every night. And I got pretty good at it. I got to the point where people were paying me really good money to bring me in to wrestle people who really weren't that good, because they knew I could take them and make it look good. You can only do that so much before you start to lose your value.
Right.
Lesson I learned the hard way. Remember that sinking I was talking about?
Yeah.
So you went out, hey, I'm doing well, maybe I should quit my shoot job and start, just doing this on the regular. But once you go around the horn enough, doing that, eventually your value decreases, and that's what happened to Ravishing Ronnie Roberts. So I believe wrestling's 90% mental. That explains why I look like the way I look these days. So I had to think about it. I'm like, okay, let's think about all the guys who were successful in wrestling. When you think about the guys who made the most money in wrestling, off top, what do you think about?
John Cena, The Rock, Mankind.
Even before them, you got your Hogans, your Ultimate Warriors,
right.
those guys.
Yeah.
How many of those guys were considered the best wrestlers?
Not a lot of them.
Not a lot,
Yeah.
Exactly. However, what did they have that not everybody else had?
Right, they had the charisma, the character.
I told you, I'm a Reverend. I was studying all that,
Yeah.
So all those guys who were doing things they probably shouldn't have been doing in the back of the church or whatever, that's where the Reverend came from. And I knew that I could talk the talk, because I used to, OVW won't let me come speak out of the book, I'll say that, but I know it and I speak it. And, I knew I had to talk. And I just had to, dress it up a little bit. So I figured, you know what? Let me make it the Reverend bigger than life. Make people feel the wrestling will take care of itself. And lo and behold, I now get bookings. About 25% of my bookings are from me coming to do some kind of hosting or talking or something. And I don't even have to put my underwear on and wrestle another sweaty guy.
All right, you don't have to take a bump.
Exactly.
That's perfect. Think about that, fellow wrestlers that are watching this. It's
Yeah.
all about character. It's all about charisma.
Yeah, that's the one of the foundations that I teach my kids at Grindhouse. And you watch my guys, if they can do nothing else, they can talk. and they have character.
That's good, because not a lot of wrestlers nowadays can talk.
Right,
So
you're right.
That's a lost art right there. So let's talk about OVW. You've been here for about a year and a half or so, and you have this. I love this segment. You have this segment called The Good Word.
Yes, indeed.
Right?
Yes, indeed.
And so I know you've been doing it for a while, and it seems like every week that you have The Good Word, it always gets interrupted. And I think I'm probably the one that's interrupted the most.
Yes.
But let's not talk about me.
That is a fact.
But when that happens, though, like, how do you feel when that happens, when your show gets interrupted? Or do you expect it now? Or
well, some have accused me of, setting up some of the interruptions, and I don't know why someone would say such a thing, but most of the time I am prepared, and not only am I prepared, I fully expect it nowadays. The only one who really got under my skin was Ryan Howe, because that guy's just annoying. I mean, Let's be honest.
I can concur with that.
Let's be honest. I didn't mind because when you came out to, when you came out, it was going to equal ratings because you were going to beef with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan just comes out to play his guitar and so that does me no good.
he comes out to entertain himself.
Yeah, exactly. When somebody else comes out, they usually have issue with whoever I got out there, so I just get to sit back and now we don't want any fisticuffs on the good word now, but there's controversy and equals ratings.
Awesome.
So I'm okay with some interruptions. I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
every now and then I might have somebody waiting in the back and have a second guest that the first guest doesn't know about.
Kind of like a Jerry Springer type thing.
Well, I wouldn't say Jerry Springer. I prefer not to compare myself to such guys. It's just a good word with Reverend Ronnie Robbins.
All right. Well, we're going to sidetrack just for a second. We're going to do a little grappling with trivia, and I'm going to test you on trivia and see how smart you are to the wrestling history.
Ooh, all right.
Not a lot of questions. I only have 4 questions. I got my little cheat sheet right here.
Okay.
But before we do this, I think you might need a thinking hat to kind of help you do this. So just give
my halo not enough.
So give me 1 second. So let's see. Here.
Oh,
I think this right here,
man,
and it's just your color too.
You know what, Tony? You'd be surprised. There's some pictures out there on the internet of me with a hat on similar to this.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh. Eventually, once I became rodeo Ronnie Roberts for a few
good,
weeks,
doesn't it?
It's not bad.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if this helps you out.
I got to cock it to the side just a little bit. I got to make it gangster.
I like it. You can pull it off, man. All right. So, question number 1, and viewers watching at home as well too. See if you can answer these questions before the Cowboy Reb does.
Mm-hmm.
So, question 1: Louisville native Jim Cornette became famous for managing what tag team? You have
Midnight Express.
Yeah, no, you don't even need guesses.
No, I don't need it.
So Midnight Express, you got that right.
The top 5, one of my top 5 tag teams.
Yeah. The other guesses were Rock and Roll Express and the U.S. Express.
The U.S. Express. Wow. I wonder if people even know who that is.
So, just a little fun fact with Jim Cornette that they have in here. After getting his start in the Memphis territory, Cornette went to Bill Watts, Mid-South Wrestling, and teamed up with Dennis Condrey and Bobby Eaton to form the
Midnight Express.
Midnight Express. Love Bobby Eaton, man.
That's it. Oh, I love Dennis Condrey. Actually,
Yeah, really.
love Dennis Condrey. So good.
Bobby could sell.
But Bobby
man.
Bobby Eaton does not get his roses near enough.
No.
He was so good.
Yeah.
So good.
So good.
Don't get me started. We'll be here all night talking about those guys.
I know Bobby was. I used to run the road with him, but that's another time.
Okay.
So, question number 2: Which wrestler holds the record for holding the most overall championships in professional wrestling history?
Why is this? Now wait a minute.
You got 4 guesses.
Okay, go ahead.
So, A, Jerry Lawler.
That was going to be my guess.
B, Ric Flair. C, Dan Severn. D, Luthez.
I want to guess Lawler. That was my first guess.
What do you guys guess? What do you say?
Lawler was going to be my guess before you even said anything. So
you are correct.
Okay.
You're 100% right now. Jerry Lawler is correct. The King has held 168 championships in his Hall of Fame career, including 4 world championships.
Who keeps up with this?
Right.
I don't even know. People ask me, and I'm like, I don't know.
I barely know what happened yesterday in my own life.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, question number 3. Kevin Nash, this is a good one. Kevin Nash's singles debut in WCW took place during the 1991 Super Brawl pay-per-view. What was the name of his character?
Wait, was that Oz? Or was that, which one was first? Oz or Vinny
Give me the options just to...
Yes.
All right. So, A, Vinny Vegas. B, the Diamond Stud.
No, that's Scott Hall.
C, the Shockmaster.
No.
D, Oz.
Which one was first, Vinny Vegas or Oz? Which one's first?
Can you get it before he can get it?
Which one's first? I don't remember. I want to say Oz.
Final answer?
Yes.
You are correct. You got it. It is Oz.
Because actually his tag, he debuted as something else before Oz, as a tag team wrestler. I'm a big WCW fan back then.
I don't know all the history. I'm like the Kurt Angle of knowing the wrestling history. I have no idea.
Oh yeah, I love that old WCW Georgia Championship Wrestling stuff. Oh yeah.
Well, here's an OVW one.
Okay.
All right. Last question: which OVW alumni was the first AEW TNT Champion? Is it A, Shawn Spears, B, Cody Rhodes,
Yeah.
C, Jungle Boy, or D, Brian Pillman Jr.?
I thought it was Cody Rhodes. Wasn't he the first champion? Period.
I'm not telling you the answer.
I don't watch these days. All that old stuff, I'm on it.
Yeah.
These days, I'm gonna say Cody Rhodes.
You are correct. 100%. Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare.
Get some.
The American Nightmare won the TNT Championship at Double or Nothing, defeating Lance Archer.
See, listen, Tony. You know I got the wisdom of Solomon on my side. It's hard to combat.
Was it the wisdom or was it the cowboy hat?
You know what? It might have been the hat for the last one
Yeah.
at least. I tell you, I didn't know Jungle Boy even wrestled at OVW.
No, yeah, he didn't. So there you go. So that was one that you could have X'd out right off the bat.
Oh, that's funny. I remember I met him. I was on his show in Chicago when he first started. Super nice guy. Can't say that I know him, but I remember being on the show with him, and he's awesome. And he's Luke Perry's son. Isn't that correct? I believe he is the actor, Luke Perry.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I'm telling you, my history's horrible, man. I don't know anything.
Man, I know the old stuff. You asked me something in the last 2 years, brother. I just saw Cody Rhodes with a title on it one time. That's why I guessed him. That's it.
Well, that was Grappling with Trivia. You're more than welcome to keep the hat on if you want to keep the hat on for the rest of this interview.
I had it on, you know.
Yeah, that's all right.
Is my halo shining over top of that?
Yeah,
that's the question.
You can see the glow up there.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. Amen.
Amen.
So let's get back to wrestling real quick about yourself, because who doesn't like talking about themselves?
Believe it or not me.
So you've had a lot of opponents.
Yes.
In your 12 years that you've been wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So who would you say is the most toughest opponent that you've been in the ring with? Now I'm not saying like hard to work with.
No, you mean
like as far as a good challenge inside the ring.
Well, the guy who taught me, my basics, Larry D's a pretty tough character. Got broken, my nose is no longer straight wrestling him. Been in the ring with Davey Richards. He's a pretty tough guy.
Yeah.
Tracy Smothers. Wrestled Tracy, rest in peace. Love Tracy. He taught me so much. Wrestled Tracy a lot.
Man, he was tough.
And talk about, double tough. Double tough. I was always on Tracy's good side. I've seen people on his bad side, and it's not a sight you want to see.
I worked him in Memphis TV one time, and he gave me this little elbow to the gut and like a boom boom.
Oh yeah.
Shattered my nose. I just powdered out of the ring. I was like, okay, I got to get this blood off my face.
Oh yeah. Tracy was the truth now. Let me say Victor Bruiser. Let's see. Man, you caught me off guard with this question. I'm trying to go through all the guys.
There's a lot.
Yeah, there are a lot.
Well, let's just flip the other side of the coin.
Okay.
Who's a dream match here? Someone you would love to share the ring with? Because I know we all have them.
Here's a guy that I had the opportunity to share the ring with, and I double booked myself as far as I had a marriage to ceremony to perform, and I double booked myself with a wrestling event, and it was the Reverend Slick. From WWE fame, if y'all remember. And I was supposed to be working with him, and I was also booked myself to marry somebody. And one of the few times in my life that I picked something else other than wrestling first. And so I canceled that booking. That would have been lovely. That would have been great. I would love, you know what I would love? All these guys who are supposed to be really good on the microphone. Take it, your CM Punks, your MJFs, who else is good on the microphone these days? I don't even know. I would love to stand toe-to-toe with any of those guys, maybe even have them on the good word. See, I done got riled up already talking about it.
Get going, man.
Would love to have them on the good word, or any of them got a good word or whatever, because I guarantee you, it's when I get in the ring with guys like that, you know what I think, Tony?
What's that?
Lunchtime.
You're gonna eat them up.
Barbecue chicken. I challenge anybody. I don't care who you are. You think you that good. I told you I'm the silver tongue saint. I let it roll every time, and I have no lack of confidence when it comes to that. So I don't necessarily have a lot of dream matches these days. I've got some dream promo battles
to share the ring with someone.
Some of those guys. And really, because I'm just confident enough, I was about to say cocky, confident enough to think that I can not only hold my own, but maybe come out on top with a lot of those guys.
Yeah. I agree with that as well. So anybody out there watching, you think you can go toe-to-toe with the Rev Ronnie Roberts? Let's put you to the test.
I dare you.
So let's do one of your most memorable moments in wrestling. It could be a championship, something that you experienced the ring with, anything like that.
I feel like everything that came to mind was a funny moment. First thing I thought of was this scar I have right here. I don't know if you can really see it. It's kind of starting to grow in, but I used to, I would do this thing where I'm on the top rope and I would dive over the guardrail and out into whoever's outside the guardrail. Well, I decided I was going to do that on a 7-foot tall giant one time, and before I can really get my jump, he picked up a chair and just threw it. And it happened in slow motion to me. I watched it back and I was like, man, it happened a lot faster than I thought. And the chair just slowly starts turning. So I'm like, cool, I'm just going to Mr. Miyagi this and catch it here once it gets there. And I did, but just a second too late. It's boom! And it's blood just everywhere. And what really is funny is that I hit the mat. Boom. And I look up and I see, Aaron Grinder, who is the producer at OVW, but also was a referee. And, boom. And I look up and he's the first guy I see. And I don't know exactly what's going on. And his eyes just go. And then I look over and my opponents, it was a tag match. My opponents have made it back in the ring. So I turn to one and he's, boom, and he hits me. And I turn to the other one and he goes, oh. So I'm like, man, what do I look like? These guys are just, So I got back to the back and it didn't, I don't know if we're just tough guys or whatever, but, a lot of things just don't hurt us the way it would hurt most people. And don't get me wrong, it didn't feel good, but I didn't really notice. And I get back to the back and now I've got a split right here that was literally, this is not an exaggeration, literally, you could stick a couple fingers in there. And I'm like, oh my God. And the worst part was, I was fine with that. It was my white gear that got blood on it that freaked me out. I'm like, this is my white gear, I got blood on it, what am I going to do?
Screw my face, I'm stain my tights.
Exactly. I'll say, when I won my first primetime wrestling title, there's a promotion that used to run in Georgetown, Kentucky, and it's like my home promotion. It's Larry D ran it. He's my trainer. It's like coming up in home. When I made it to the top of that card, that they had the confidence in me, and that I made it and I did my thing. That was a big moment for me. I don't really care about most titles. Yes, I would like to have them because it means more money. But that one actually, I felt, it wasn't the money. It was an accomplishment, it was an achievement.
Right,
I had earned the respect of my peers.
Right.
And that's a big deal in the wrestling business,
It is.
Let me think. It was a good one here recently, going up to Waukesha, Wisconsin. You were there. And I was in the ring with D'Lo Brown. That was awesome.
Yeah. You got to share the ring with D'Lo.
Got to share with D'Lo. That was fantastic.
So talk about that. So what happened there?
I introduced him. I, talked about all his accomplishments, and then I hit him up for money with my collection plate.
So did he give you money? What happened?
He put his whole wallet in there.
Was there anything in there? I
was shocked. Well, he took it back, so I don't know. I didn't get a chance to, But no, that was awesome. Really, really good guy. I talked to him afterwards as well. Had a lot of good things to say, a lot of advice and things. And I look forward to hopefully sharing the ring and sharing the locker room with D'Lo more.
Yeah, awesome.
That's just off the top of my head. I don't know, Tony. I'm one of those guys who I don't take a lot of pictures. I go from town to town. I have some memories, don't get me wrong, but man, I feel like I do so much that everything just kind of blends together, and I can't. Sometimes it's hard for me to come off the top from some of the things that I really like. Because once I leave here, I'll be driving home, like, oh man, what did I talk about that? And then,
trust me, I'm the same way. I mean, you've been doing this 12, I've been doing this right at 20 years, so it's like everything just starts to kind of blend and melt together.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're getting ready to wrap things up, but before we do, I'm going to take your attention to the viewers real quick, and I want you to kind of talk to them for a second. If you have someone out there that's looking to follow their dream, whether it's professional wrestling or whatever it is, what would you say to that person that's looking to do that?
That is a great question. It's funny. I was just talking to one of my young guys about this earlier. You want to be a wrestler. My first question is always, why? What are you doing? you're doing with your life. But if it's something you really want to do, one, have a backup plan. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, as we mentioned earlier. Go to school, get your degree, have you another business you want to start. Whatever your other plan is, do not put all your eggs in the wrestling basket. Do not. Because there's a lot of wrestlers out there, and there's a very small percentage of them are successful. Now, with that said, if you're going to do it, give it everything you have. Don't half-step anything. Get your gear tight. Get your body tight. Get your facials. Work in the mirror. There's a lot of stuff you need to do, and it's more than just the wrestling moves. Anybody can go out there and do wrestling moves. Matter of fact, everybody goes out there and does wrestling moves. But how are you different from everybody else? That's the number one thing once you get in the business. How are you going to be different from everybody else? Don't go on, watch TV and mimic what everybody else is doing. Find something that people are not doing, or do something everybody's doing it in a different way and in your own way. That's the biggest thing. And one, I advise you to take care of your body, nutrition, and all that stuff early, because that's the only way I get away with looking like I do when I'm in great shape, believe it or not, because I did all the work. I used to be muscular and used to do all that stuff my whole life. So now that I'm been around for a while and I don't work out as heavy as I used to, well, I can get away with it. I still have what they call that when playing basketball with the old guys, they got that old man strength. That's what I got these days, because I built it over my lifetime. So put in the work early, mentally and physically, and be different from everybody else. And number one, don't put your eggs all in one basket. Have a backup plan, because it's going to take you a while. Even if you do make it and are successful, it's going to take you a while to hit those roads and make a name for yourself. Nobody, well, I won't say nobody. Most 99.5% of the people are not just going to start wrestling and then I'm on AEW or I'm on WWE or something like that. Have something that's going to sustain you until you make it, and have something going that if you don't make it, you can also be successful in some other area of life. I think those are the three things.
No, those are the very good points that you put right there, Rev. Very good points. Good words from the Rev. Rev, one last chance to plug yourself if you want viewers to follow you on social media or anything like that, to look you up.
Well, I am terrible at the social media game, and that's been a downfall in my career, and I will admit. But you can find Reverend Ronnie Roberts on Facebook, the Triple R Superstar, or Ronnie Roberts. You can find me on Twitter at Ronnie Reverend. It's my second account. I kind of lost my first one. And on Instagram, Ronnie_Roberts1. Also, if you don't mind, go follow Grindhouse Pro Wrestling on Facebook. You can find us at Grindhouse X on Twitter and Grindhouse Pro Wrestling on Instagram, or Grindhouse Pro Wrestling at Gmail, and our website, grindhouseprowrestling.com. We've got the Man Beast Rhino coming in February 27th. We also have the Academy. If you want to become a wrestler and you want to learn from the Triple R Superstar Reverend Ronnie Roberts, contact Grindhouse. We'll get you started, and as we like to say, live the dream, join the grind.
Awesome. Well, Rev, it's been awesome having you on the show.
Appreciate you.
Hopefully you had a good time.
Thank you so much. I really did.
And again, my name's Shotgun Tony Gunn. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the show. Don't forget to follow Ring Generals on social media. Hey, can I get a yay, man?
Yay, man.
See you next time.